I looked up from the food court and saw my husband feeding ice cream to a woman in a red coat, his fingers brushing hers like it was second nature. My heart stopped. He didn't see me, but I saw everything. What happened next will silence a crowded mall. But first, let's go back to the beginning. I wasn't supposed to be at that mall. Life has a way of delivering its worst moments wrapped in the ordinary. That day, it was a pumpkin spice latte and a half-hearted birthday errand for my mother. Claire had canceled our picnic after the temperature dipped, and I figured I'd make use of the time. I parked on the far side of the lot, walked in through the east entrance, and moved with that quiet, unhurried rhythm of someone with no real agenda. Just me, alone, wandering beneath soft fluorescent light and fake autumn leaves strung from the ceiling. I was halfway through the food court, passing the carousel, when I glanced up. Just because. Just in time. And everything cracked. Michael, my husband, laughing. The kind of laugh I hadn't heard in months. His eyes lit, his face softened. He tilted his head the way he used to when we were dating, when it was just us and the future felt big and unwritten. Only he wasn't looking at me. He was gazing at a woman in a striking red coat, her body angled toward him like they belonged to each other. She reached out, playfully tapped the spoon he held, then tasted it from his hand. I felt my stomach tighten like it was folding in on itself. My first thought wasn't anger. It was disbelief. Your brain resists. It looks for logic. Maybe it's someone from work. Maybe this is innocent. Maybe I'm wrong. But then his hand brushed hers slowly. Familiar. Her smile deepened like it belonged to a story they'd already been writing for a while. Not a first meeting. Not an accident. Something practiced. I stood there, paralyzed by the sight of a world I had no place in. My fingers gripped the paper coffee cup so tightly the lid caved. I didn't flinch. Just kept staring as the heat from the drink seeped into my hand, burning gently through the paper. I couldn't hear the music or the chatter or the announcements anymore. Just the pulse in my ears, like the rush of blood after a wound. That was the moment. The one no one prepares you for. Not when he confessed 5 years ago and cried on the kitchen floor. Not when he promised he'd never, ever make that mistake again. Not when you forgave him and swore to start over. That kind of betrayal doesn't arrive loudly. It slips in like breath, silent, personal, precise. I didn't confront him, not in that moment, not there. I watched. I remembered every detail. Her curls, his posture, the way their laughter looked from 20 feet away. Then I walked out. Slowly. Alone. Because silence sometimes is the sharpest blade. The morning after was quiet. Too quiet. The kind that presses down on your shoulders and hums under your skin like electricity. Michael made coffee. I made toast. We spoke in passing tones. Small, colorless sentences that filled space but meant nothing. He kissed our daughter goodbye and told me he'd be late again because of quarter-end reports. I nodded and smiled like a woman whose soul hadn't just been ripped out the day before. When the front door closed and his car pulled away, the smile slid off my face like a dead thing. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the countertop. My hand gripped the coffee mug so hard the ceramic groaned. Then I moved, mechanically. Put the dishes in the sink, folded the dish towel, fed the dog. My movements were too calm to be called angry, but under each one pulsed something far more dangerous than rage: intention. Upstairs, I sat at my desk and opened my laptop, the screen flickering to life with innocent emails and half-written shopping lists. I didn't open any of them. I opened a new tab. My fingers didn't tremble. My mind was a blade. Sharp. Focused. 5 years ago, Michael's affair had nearly broken me. I had begged for answers, begged for honesty. And when he collapsed in tears on our kitchen floor, I believed him. Believed he was weak, not cruel. Believed he loved me. We saw a counselor. We made a pact. We rebuilt. But now, all that rebuilding felt like a house of mirrors, illusion, performance. His guilt had faded with time. Mine never did. I carried the weight of moving on like a second skin, stretching smiles over hollow places. And now he thought he could do it again. Only this time, he wasn't hiding. This time he was bold enough to hold her hand where anyone could see, where I could see. The anger wasn't fire. It was ice, clean, silent. It sliced neatly through my grief. My mind returned to the moment in the mall, the tinny voice over the intercom announcing a sale at the candle store, breaking their little spell of stolen romance. The sound had jolted me, but it had also made them pause, if only for a second. A voice they couldn't ignore. A voice above them. That was the key. I started researching the mall's operations, management companies, leasing offices. I found the public directory. I began making calls. My voice was calm, friendly. I asked how announcements were handled, who submitted them, what the process was. Every lie Michael had told me echoed in my mind like a metronome, each one driving me deeper into precision. I wasn't going to break things. I was going to broadcast them. The day of reckoning arrived dressed like any other. The sky was pale and dull, smeared with November gray. I parked in the exact same section of the lot as before, slipped my keys into my coat pocket, and stepped out into the chilled air. I didn't feel the cold. My heartbeat was a quiet drum behind my ribs, steady, cold, prepared. There was no adrenaline, no second guessing, only execution. My outfit was deliberate, neutral tones, tailored lines, lipstick the color of dried blood. Not dramatic, calculated. I wanted to blend into the background, to move like an observer, invisible but present. My hair, twisted tight, gave me the look of a woman with nothing left to explain. I entered through the east entrance again, the same mall, the same polished tile, the same faint scent of fried food and vanilla candles, and there, almost as if the universe had accepted its role in the performance, they appeared, right on cue. Michael in his gray jacket, her in that damn red coat, still smug, still oblivious. They walked close. The intimacy of their posture was unmistakable now, no guessing, no doubt. He touched the small of her back as they approached the food court, laughing at something I didn't care to imagine. I watched them settle on the same bench by the pretzel stand, side by side, like a couple in a soft focus commercial. It was almost too perfect. Then, crack, the PA system came alive. A burst of static. Silence fell for a beat. Shoppers slowed their steps, heads tilted. "Attention shoppers." The voice was male, smooth, professional, impersonal, exactly what I wanted. "If you're a man named Michael Bennett and you're currently eating frozen yogurt with a woman in a red coat, your wife Jessica sees you, and she wants you to know the divorce papers are ready and the house isn't in your name anymore." The reaction was instant. A sharp inhale rippled through the crowd, a few audible gasps. A teenaged girl near the smoothie stand covered her mouth and squealed. Someone laughed, nervously, guiltily. A woman in a velour tracksuit clapped once, slow and deliberate. Her friend whispered something, eyes wide. But I didn't look at them. I watched him. Michael's spoon froze midair. He blinked like a man surfacing from underwater. His face went pale, drained of its smug warmth, and turned a sickly gray. His head jerked up, scanning, spinning, searching. I didn't give him the satisfaction of finding me. I had already turned. My boots tapped a steady rhythm against the tile as I walked toward the exit, back straight, chin high. The sound of his world cracking behind me was all I needed to hear. The next morning, his name lit up my phone like a flare in the dark, once, twice, 27 times before noon. I let each call ring until it died in silence. By the time he drove home from work, if he even made it to the office, I imagine his hands were shaking, his mind spinning with possibilities. But nothing prepared him for the absence of a click when he turned the key in the front door. Nothing prepares a man who always assumed forgiveness was just part of the rhythm of marriage. He jiggled the handle, tried again, and again. But I'd already changed the locks. The papers had been filed before sunrise. My lawyer moved with precision, armed with everything I'd quietly assembled over the last year: bank statements, text records, hotel charges, time-stamped photographs. Screenshots that once made my stomach lurch now worked like surgical tools. Clean cuts, no mess. Our prenuptial agreement, something he once scoffed at as just a formality, became my shield. The house, in my name. The car, purchased with inherited funds, protected, safe. He hadn't thought he'd ever need to worry about consequences. That was always his flaw. He mistook my quiet for weakness. When the documents arrived at his office that Monday afternoon, I imagine he saw the signature before anything else. The finality of it, the full legal name of the woman who had made his lunch, folded his shirts, and endured his second chances. But this time, there was no fight. He didn't contest the divorce. What could he say? Everyone had heard the announcement. The shame wasn't private anymore. It was piped through speakers and echoed across a food court. In that moment, he wasn't the man with the upper hand. He was the punchline in a story he thought he controlled. I didn't make that spectacle for revenge. Not really. I did it because I wanted him to feel what it was like to be exposed, to sit in the middle of a public space where everything looked normal, until it wasn't, until the voice called out and named the truth, until the world turned to look and there was nowhere left to hide. I never saw her again. No messages, no confrontations. She vanished with the last taste of his lie. And I didn't need closure, not the kind people talk about anyway. The truth had already spoken. I moved on in silence, because sometimes the loudest justice comes from saying nothing at all and letting the echo finish the sentence for you.